Good morning. Welcome back to Breakfast with Bobbi right here on All Access Network Television. How you doing, Bobbi?
Hey, good morning. It's sunny and it's bright outside and spring is here.
It
At
is.
least it looks like that today.
Yeah, don't get used to it. We're only in the first week of March. You've been here long enough to know that.
I know. But it's exciting today, darn it.
It is exciting today.
Wow.
I know. I got up early before the sun and drove the 10 minutes to Lake Michigan and took a bunch of photos and some video. And I've got some new equipment, so I'm playing with it. I'm learning.
Oh,
So
how fun.
yeah. I have a couple of video cameras. One of them has infrared, so you can film in the dark.
Oh my.
Yeah. So been playing with all of that. And so, yeah, it's been fun.
How fun. Speaking of nighttime stuff, whatever, I once did a thing on a nature preserve with bats. And we did our thing at night, and it was so enlightening. So keep that in mind. I don't know that you'd ever do that, but there is a mine in Wisconsin that houses bats.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's up in your area. Anyway, without further ado, today is Markus Kasunich Day.
Yes, it is. Welcome back. We are happy to have him back because we have so much fun when he's on.
Right. He's in Wisconsin right now. He is here until the 15th. And y'all can find his stuff on markuskasunich.com. He is the expert in consciousness therapy. And he also wrote the IRAM book, which is a map for creating conscious relationships. It's the best thing. It'll save you hundreds and thousands of money in therapy sessions with your psychiatrist. So get the book. Anyway, without further ado, Markus Kasunich, welcome back.
Nice to be back. Hi, guys.
Hey, Markus. Good to see you.
Good to see both of you.
Oh, my God.
It's been a while.
It has.
Yeah. So what do you got going on in Milwaukee?
I was doing events for this weekend, and the rest of there's an event. We're doing an acupuncture event on Sunday, and then I'm doing private sessions. But I've just had a slew of events in Waukesha and some in the Milwaukee area.
Nice.
Your events are always so good, and they're, albeit a little lengthy sometimes, that you really get the opportunity to sink into it and to really imbibe all of that. And I really like listening to your lectures and all of that kind of stuff. I've been your student for a few years now.
Well, it's nice to be back in the Midwest. It's always very familiar here. It's been a while. I've been coming back and forth for a while. So it's kind of like a relative that I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, right. So we have an opportunity today while you're talking that, we're live streamed and stuff. So people may want to ask you questions or whatever. So while you're talking or whatever, Kristina or I or someone will read the question for you if there is one. But the comments and stuff are live and we will talk to you about that.
Fantastic. Yeah, we already had, this is a network, and I think that there are, and Gwen can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we now have 21 shows on this network.
Ooh.
And one of the people who has an evening show on Thursday nights just commented, "Hello to the All Access Network morning shift from the Thursday night shift."
Yeah, we
23 shows. Holy cow, 23. There must be, I saw at least one new one pop up in the intro. Yeah, so we're reaching a lot more people for you, Markus.
Well, it's exciting. When I found out you guys were going live, I was like, wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and you didn't even have to get up early.
And I didn't even have to get up early.
I know.
Right. Yeah. Thank God you're here. Kind of. That would be pretty early for you there.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today? We were talking about the Year of the Horse. You did an incredible live stream about that. And we're doing integration and stuff and how to do that. This is such a complicated thing. After it seems, high energy. It's really something that you really want to sink your teeth in. And after the year that we've had with shedding all of the stuff, and a lot of things happened, at least for me last year. And so it just seemed like a lot. And now this year, hopefully I can relax and integrate some stuff, and I thought maybe perhaps you would talk about that.
Sure, I'd love to. I mean, we're in a very interesting transition. I mean, cosmically, socially, and it's all playing itself out. In fact, like it's a 2026 is a 1 year, right? So it's a restart. It's a reset of a 1 year cycle. So that's why probably the year of the wood snake, at the end of that year, the unraveling has been so intense. I can tell you that in the 20 years of doing this kind of work, 25 years, I have never seen the level of unraveling happen across the board in so many people in so many different ways that I did in the last 2 to 3 months of the end of 2025. But that was the end of a 9 cycle, right? And so 2025, that in numerology is a 9, and then we're starting in this one cycle, and this one cycle's like the energy of the lunar calendar is the fire horse, which is a yang yang, which is super masculine, and it's just intense momentum moving forward. So anything that wasn't unraveled in 2025 is absolutely going to be pulled to the surface and pulled for individuals to start looking at. So we're in this intense transition. And then if you want to think about this in terms of the last time we were in a one cycle the way we are in the year of the fire horse, a masculine energy in the Chinese lunar calendar was 1966. So you want to think about the energy and the dynamics and like the social things that were happening in 1966, Vietnam, the whole issue with communism. There was a kind of a spike in technology. So that you want to take the dynamics of 1996 and then look at them from the lens of 2026. That's the kind of thing that's the kind of influences that we have cosmologically that are going on in our world right now. So we're in this intense transition, which also means that things are going to get revealed. Everything is going to get exposed. And we have, and then astrologically speaking, in Western culture, we have Pluto in Aquarius. And Pluto in Aquarius means Pluto is the underworld, so it's flushing everything up. And Aquarius is the maverick that's non-conventional, that opens all these things up. So the spiritual world is going to be exploding as in this age of Aquarius. That's literally the age of Aquarius. We're in it. So we're in this situation where there's this transition, and people are kind of really trying to learn how to navigate this transition in consciousness, because it doesn't take too much to open up your social media or the news to see that everything is kind of in the process of unraveling, whether that be political structures, religious structures. Things are getting revealed in ways that are absolutely insane, and people are looking at that. And my experience that I've had with a lot of people working with people is there's a kind of feeling of hopelessness that's kind of layered. There's a lot of sadness because the illusions are dissolving. Now, the one other framework that I like to think about is, if you want to think about this from the Hindu philosophy, we are literally in the age of the Kali Yuga. And the Kali Yuga is an epoch. It's kind of like a cycle it's very similar to the Mayan calendar. There's various different cultures that have this prediction about these cycles. And the cycle of the Kali Yuga is considered the age of darkness in the human condition. But in 2026, in Hindu astrological situations, 2026 has this pop of awareness within this darkness of the Kali Yuga. So if you look at all these influences, we've got a 1 year, we're entering into the fire horse, which is this intense masculine energy of momentum and movement and moving things forward. We've unraveled a lot of things. We're in the age of Aquarius. So if you look at it, we're on this line of transition in consciousness, and we're going to see this unravel socially, which is also going to mean that all the underworld, all the unknown worlds are going to start to make themselves far more visible and kind of unravel like never before. So it's exciting, but it's also going to be very interesting, because if there's stuff that you haven't dealt with and things that you haven't wanted to look at and things that have been buried, well, the energies are kind of there to kind of push things forward and move it out. So we're really dealing with that. So that transition into this new age of more awareness, more consciousness, and an opening is what a lot of people are dealing with. And that's why they're feeling that sadness, because any attachments, any kind of things that they had that they didn't want to let go of, and all illusions about what we thought reality was and what we thought the social structure was, and then and all the faith that we put in systems that have been, you know, rooted in corruption, is we're all seeing that. So in the Kali Yuga, this is the age of corruption, and it's interesting because corruption in the Kali Yuga is overt, like it's no longer hidden, it's now open and seen for everybody, and things are starting to unravel. So we're having this very interesting opening, even in the context of this transition that we have going on. So
which I just want to point out started on February 17th. We're only 3
February
weeks into
17th.
this.
Exactly.
We're only 3 weeks into this.
3 weeks. I know, it's crazy.
It's been a long year, these 3 weeks.
Doesn't it feel like that?
It does, yes.
But that's that momentum of the fire horse, because the thing about this kind of this particular astrological sign is it's just intense momentum forward. So even if you don't want things to happen, things are going to move. And then, so that means it's really important what we put our consciousness and attention on, because if you put your attention on what you do not want, you're going to create more of what you do want. And then it's amplified by this momentum.
Exactly. And boy, you know, a lot of us have not been very disciplined in our thinking, me included, not been real disciplined in our thinking. So when things aren't, you know, progressing the way we think that they should, because we're not keeping our thinking clear, that's a problem.
Well, that's all going to get exposed, and we're all going to get the opportunity to kind of unravel it and reassess. But one of the other big things about this year is pivoting, because in the momentum of things moving very quickly, it's going to require people to be a lot more flexible than they probably have been in the past, because the things that worked before aren't going to work the same way, and then everything's getting flushed up to be kind of exposed and looked at. So it's going to require people to have the ability to be flexible and pivot not only your ideology and your attachments, but also pathways in life, because as soon as you start a new pathway, the momentum is going to push it forward.
Exactly. Go ahead, Bobbi. You look like you were going to say something. What is the noises? I'm hearing a lot of noise.
You're hearing Abby. Abby is. Okay. I had to put Abby in the back room. Abby is my parrot, and she's on a roll this morning.
Okay, as long as I know what it is, because I thought I was making something squeak, and I wanted to stop it if I was doing it.
No, well, you know, she sounds like a backup alarm sometimes, and she sounds like the microwave sometimes, and it's very interesting. So I did try to put her in the back room where it was quieter, but I apologize for the noise.
That's all right. I just didn't know what it was, so thank you for clearing that up. And good morning, Lorena.
So, question about the you know, how do we integrate all of that? There's so much stuff going on quickly. And with all of the political stuff going on, which I just, you know, I hate to even talk about, but it's so prevalent, it's in your face all the time. And all of the corruption, and you're right, it's in your face, it's everywhere. It's people know it. I just don't understand how it can be allowed to go on. But in addition to that, how do we try to integrate that? How do we bring that forth in ourselves so that we can not focus on the negative, but move forward in the positive?
Well, it's really about, we're in what I call like I don't know if you've ever heard the term liminal. Liminal is a transition between two states. And in the transition between two states, whether that be two states of consciousness or a transition in your life or transition in your work state, who you were is done. Like there's a new you, but who you've become is not quite there yet. So we're in this very interesting transitional space, and that's why people are feeling this kind of discombobulated energy, because the new state has not been fully coagulated yet, and the old state is unraveling. So you're in, well, you've heard the expression limbo, right?
Yeah,
that comes from the same Latin word, limbo and liminal. It means on the threshold. So so we are literally in that transitional space from one state to another state, and we're in the threshold. So one of the things you want to be doing is you have to be very available, and quite frankly, we have to be very honest about what's coming up, because you are going to start facing things that, that may have been pushed aside in your consciousness, in your life, in your relationships, in your work, and it's going to be coming up in an intense way for us to kind of examine it. And anytime we're in transition, we're in the transitional state, first thing is to be very available to what's going on, and to have a kind of a very rooted honesty about what is going on, and then look at it and ask the questions: is this still serving me? Right? Because a lot of the things that you've done in the past, they're things that you're attached to. They're not wrong, but they served a purpose for that period of consciousness, but they may not serve a purpose moving into the new state that you're going into. So first thing you have to be asking is really getting honest about the things that feel in alignment with who you are, which means you have to be very available to yourself to be able to feel what's going on. You have to be available and honest about what you're seeing, and you have to be in this space where you're like, okay, I have to be available to this, and you're going to have to feel it. You're going to have to feel what doesn't work, and you're going to have to ask the questions, really sometimes very difficult questions about, is the pathway, is the transition, is the work thing that I'm doing, is the relationship that I'm in, is the way that I've been viewing my world, myself, and the reality, is this still in alignment with who I'm becoming? And does it feel expansive for me as a being as I'm moving forward? So we have to be available, we have to be honest, and then we have to have compassion, because we're letting go of we're shedding a skin. We're letting go of an old part of us that did serve, but no longer serves moving into the new state that we're in. So it's a tricky thing to do, but the problem is that a lot of people, we've learned and we've been conditioned to not be available to ourselves and not be available to what's going on, and we learned to be distracted and to be kind of soothed in many ways, right? Like, people always talk about the new age of Aquarius, and I'm like, do you think the new age of Aquarius is going to happen through rainbows and rainbows and unicorns? No, the old regime is not letting go easily. I mean, right. They're not going to let go. So it's going to be friction. It's going to happen. Anything that's rooted in corruption is going to be exposed. But that doesn't mean that the regime is going to let go. The old guard is not going to let go of its control systems and powers with any kind of, they're not going to just, let it go and say, okay, we're good. It's going to be friction as this happens and things start to unravel. And that's not always pleasant, because we'd like it not to look like that, but every transition always has chaos. So you're in this kind of very interesting chaos in consciousness and socially as well, right? In our bigger consciousness in the world. So yes, we have to be available. We have to be honest. I mean, or at least I can invite you to be honest. And you have to be very, very clear about what works, what doesn't work, and be willing to let go of stuff in a way that those attachments, letting go of those and we all know it's not easy to let go of attachments, especially right. when they're comfortable, right? So this transition there's this chaos in limbo. I mean, there's the word limbo is different than liminal, because the word limbo implies that you're stuck, that it's not comfortable, that it's like you're being shaken up between the movement between two worlds and two states of consciousness. Whereas liminal is like, just be available and remember that all the possibilities are open. Because when people look into the unknown, they typically get afraid. They project fear into the unknown because they don't know. But if you think about it from the state of more, other, and beyond, right? The unknown is infinite possibilities which haven't revealed themselves yet. So it's really about our perception about the way we view it too. Because if you view it from a place of trying to hold on and fear and attachment, then you're gonna have chaos. But if you view it from a place of open possibilities, and you're gonna have the discomfort of letting go, that's part of the process. But if you view the possibilities that are present in the new state of consciousness that's being available to you, then that is only more expansive than you were before. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Change is always uncomfortable.
change is always uncomfortable, but change is the only constant in the universe. I mean,
Right.
it's not, working against change is working against the natural way that the organic functions of our universe move. That's, everything is always in transition. I mean, and that's the energy of Shakti. If you look at this from a yogic perspective, Shakti is the energy of movement, of action, of things manifest. It's the relative reality of manifestation. And in the relative reality of manifestation, the 3D world, everything is always in a constant state of change. So the
Absolutely.
more
Yeah.
we can embrace that, right? The more we can say, I accept the change, I allow it, I'm okay with it. I'm going to feel what I need to feel. I'm going to let go of what I need to let go of. And it won't necessarily be comfortable. But I've always talked to my clients and people, I'm like, one of the most powerful things in a transitional state is getting comfortable with the idea that you're going to be uncomfortable, right?
Right. Right.
And that, and because this doesn't change, like the next, and whenever you enter a new cycle, and you're going to have to shed an old skin if you want to become a more expansive version and a more evolved version of who you are. So get comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable. I mean, I wrote an article many years ago called The Spiritual Necessity of Being Uncomfortable, because it is a necessity. Once you get comfortable with the idea that that's going to happen, regardless of what state you're in, because everyone's going through the transition, and you get comfortable with the idea that discomfort is part of the deal. And, you know, if you think about it neurologically, the only way to push through your comfort zone, which is your paradigm, it's your reality, right? It's the reality that is familiar, it's comfortable, but it's not necessarily healthy. It's just familiar. It's comfortable. It's what you know. So if you want to, as you push to the only way you're going to change, or the only way things are going to happen, is pushing to the far edge of that comfort zone and leaning into that experience. So if you fight it, it's going to be more difficult. If you lean into it, it will be easier and it will be uncomfortable, but like anything, that this too shall pass. As the new integration coagulates in your consciousness, this too shall pass.
Yeah, it will. It might pass like a kidney stone, but it's going to pass.
Right.
You know? I agree with you though. Like everything, I agree. I've been actually preaching the same thing you're talking about right now. You know, everything is changing, and I have found out, at least for myself and probably several other people I've talked to, change is more comfortable when it's our choice.
Yes.
When it's
Yes,
our conscious choice, you know,
that's
then
true.
it's more comfortable. But this whole world change thing, you know, and you said that everything is going to be exposed. I don't know about you guys, but I am so exhausted with the constant exposure.
I
Like
know.
everything is being exposed every day. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are in that space where it's just exhausting at this point,
Right.
you
And
know?
that's why it's so important to be very clear on where you're putting your attention, right?
Exactly.
And just think about it. The way we think about our future is very interesting, but if you think about your future from a neurological perspective,
Mhm.
the way your neural network views the future is that the future is an unlived memory that hasn't been expressed yet. So all infinite possibilities of life, all the different pathways of who you are in terms of your personal identity are all available to you. And the
Yeah.
future, I'll say it again, the future is expressed in your neural network, biologically speaking, as a memory that has not yet been lived, but it's there, it's already present. So whatever we put our attention on, we're creating our focus towards something. And the brain is a predictive mechanism. So whenever you put your attention on, the brain uses that to create a predictive mechanism which gets projected into the future, and then the future shows itself, and then your behaviors wrap itself around that. That's neurological. That's a neurological
Yes.
perspective on how we view time, because time is not a linear thing. So
No.
in our consciousness, if we keep thinking in terms of, we've been programmed to think time is linear, but in
Mhm.
our biology, we actually don't experience time as a linear thing. We're just conditioned to see it that way. So that just means any possibility is available if you make choices and put attention towards what you want rather than what you do not want. And if you think about it, with all the bombardment of the stuff that's coming at us, right? All the
Mhm.
different things that we're seeing in the news, all the different things, and it's just nonstop. And then you put your attention, and a lot of people are hooked into the attention on that. We're literally creating more of what we do not want by putting especially negative attention on things that aren't serving us. So this is about getting people very clear about your intentions. The clarity of your intentions helps define how that predictive model of the brain projects reality in your biology, which shows up as the manifested experience in the 3D world. So we have more power than we think about controlling, or at least modeling, how we want our future to look and how our future selves can show up. Infinite possibilities exist for us. So if we think about it from that open, expansive energy, and we continually be very, very disciplined about what we're putting our attention on. And it's not that you don't ignore. I'm not talking about denial. I'm not talking about ignoring stuff. I'm talking about where we put our attention. Energy, focus of energy, your attention, that creates reality based on this predictive model that you're devising this in your own consciousness. Yes. So where you put your attention is where your energy goes. Where your energy goes, as an energy being that has 86 million neurological connections, which is all lined up through energy, right? We're energy beings at the fundamental level. So where we put our attention, that's going to be amplified. And then you put all the influences of the year of the fire horse, which are modifying that and moving that forward with momentum. We can become incredibly powerful manifestors, but you have to choose and you have to be clear about where those intentions, where you're directing that energy, which is what intention is. It's the direction of your energy and attention towards something, hopefully a desired goal. But most people aren't putting their attention consciously towards what they want. They're just allowing the powers that be and the systems to decide what our attention's being put on. You know, I mean, all social media is, the commodity of social media is our attention, right? That's what drives that whole thing. So if you decide consciously in an empowered way where you're putting your attention, you're going to craft your reality and the new identity and the version of who you are in a much more powerful way, because your entire biology is supporting that. And then the cosmos is momentumly is pushing that. So we're like, what's happening is we're getting supercharged in terms of our manifestation ability. That's what's happening. So it's the problem is most people just aren't aware of that. And so they are unconsciously putting their attention in places that do not serve them. And therefore, everything is getting amplified and it is getting unraveled. So it's, like I said, it's a very intriguing, interesting, chaotic, beautiful, radical, and outrageous experience that we're having in consciousness right now.
It is. It is. I'm listening to you and I'm going, yep, because you are exactly saying what this whole year of the horse is about. And again, it kind of comes down to discipline. You know, are we disciplining our thoughts? Are we disciplining our actions? And again, I've been falling flat on that. You know, the wood snake started out great, did not end up as great as I would have liked it to be. So, you know, pivot is definitely a key word this year.
Flexibility, pivot. Yeah.
And collaboration is big this year too.
Well, see, this is the other thing. Collaboration is about support, right? We collaborate with like-minded individuals, people who are supporting the same vision of the future or the same vision of consciousness that we have. And that collaboration creates a synergy. And then that synergy is amplified by these energies. So collaboration with like-minded people who are in alignment can create very powerful movements. Think about 1966, the social movements that were happening, that were in the same energy. That energy is present, but through the 2026 filter. So collaboration with like-minded people will create a momentum like never before.
Yes, absolutely.
Or at least not for 60 years.
At least not for 60 years, right?
Right.
Bobbi, what were you going to say? Because I saw you getting ready to say something and I think I jumped in on you.
Oh, I don't know. Am I supposed to remember that?
I don't know.
There's just, you know, this is a huge conversation and there's so much to think about. But because we are still transitioning from the wood snake into the horse activity energy, you know, having 1 foot in and 1 foot out trying to focus, and then trying, and for those people who hate change, it's difficult to release the stuff that you know that you're supposed to release because it's familiar. And
That's
people
true.
don't know what they're going to be suited for in the future, even though they want to do it. And then sometimes it doesn't work. But the point of it all is to embrace the change, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Manifest things that you really want and turn off the television. I'm not saying that you shouldn't know what's going on.
Exactly.
I think you need to know what's going on. I think it's really important with all the big activities that are happening. But focusing on yourself and what you want moving forward, even if little bits by little bits, will get you to a place that is a little bit more comfortable. And in a happier place, you can celebrate yourself a little easier by doing that and not focusing on all of the crap that's on TV. All of that stuff is by design. They're doing it to make sure that you are distracted and so that you don't think about the stuff that you want. And for people, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead. Keep going.
No, it's just important to focus on yourself, your family, the things that you want to embrace more of, the things that you want to generate more of, and being the generator, getting into your own energy fields and stuff, and making sure that you feel exactly what you need to feel. And albeit it's painful, but the only way, unfortunately, the only way to release the stuff in your system that doesn't belong there anymore is to sit with it, like you were mentioning. You have to sit with it. You have to feel every bit of it, otherwise it doesn't go away. And you being the guru of breath work in a lot of your sessions and stuff, I'm not sure, do people understand the beauty of breath work and how that helps you embody all of that?
Well, breath work is powerful because it's one of the fastest ways we have to regulate our system. Changing your breath, changing the relationship with your breath, and especially if you think about it from an esoteric perspective, breath is when breath is moved, when you're moving breath up and down the spine, you're activating your Kundalini energy, and Kundalini energy is the energy of Shakti. I mean, that's the energy of change. Like that's active energy, and it's also what animates your entire biology, right? Life force energy runs up and down the spine, and that animates your entire biology through all the neural networks, plus through all the acupuncture meridians and the nadis, which what they call them in the Indian tradition. So breath work is a very powerful way to regulate the system. And I was going to say that one of the things we need to do is keep our systems regulated, because the powers that be, that the way that things are designed is to put everybody in their reptilian brain. And in a reptilian brain, fight, flight, or freeze, you are emotionally compromised because you're in a reactive state. So you're easily manipulated, and then your attention is easily drawn to things that you're not even making those decisions that are influencing you. So with a regulated nervous system, which a breath work is a powerful way to do that, but with a regulated nervous system, meditation, breath, and just being in nature, by the way. I mean, being in nature is one of the most powerful ways to regulate, because then you start aligning to the organic functioning and this natural flow of what is, and it helps ground, regulate, and get you centered. And then from that place of clarity, you make different decisions. But if you stay in that reactive state, which is what all media is doing, it doesn't matter whether it's real or not real, it's putting people into that state where they're easily emotionally compromised, which the emotionally compromised individual is easy to manipulate. So that's why self-regulation and self-loving behavior, compassion is important for the change. But to regulate your biology through breath work, through meditation, through nurturing, through all the things you would do to get clear, to get centered, and then you start putting your attention on what you actually want, that's serving the new version of you that you want to move towards, because all those possibilities are endlessly available to us. Every possibility, every reality, every version of you is available in your biology, in your neural network. It's just a matter of what pathways. And everyone thinks that in order to create a new pathway, that you have to kind of have resistance to the old one. But the way you prune neurological pathways that don't serve you anymore is lack of attention. So if you put your attention on what you want and you withdraw your attention that's not serving you, then you're going to move towards what you want. I have an analogy for this. Think about going to the edge of the forest, and for 10 years, grandma lives on the other side of the forest and you're on one side of the forest. And for 10 years, you've come to the forest and you've walked the same path to grandma's house for 10 years, right? You've pushed down all the weeds. You've made the path very walkable. It's super comfortable and easy to get on this path because you come to the forest and there's a clearing and an opening because you've been using the same path for 10 years. But then you discover that there's a more efficient, a more healthy, and maybe even a safer path to grandma's house, right? You get to the edge of the forest, you're going to be habitually moved towards that pathway that you've always done. But when you start the new pathway in the beginning, it's uncomfortable because you have to cut back all the weeds. You got to push through the brush. You got to build the pathway. Even though it's a more efficient, more healthy, safer path, it still feels difficult in the beginning. And this is exactly how our neural network works. When you start putting more and more attention on that new path and you start walking that path for 5 years, then the old path that you used to walk, all the weeds grow back up again and it's gone. And that's exactly how the neural network works, right? So what you put your attention on, neurons that wire together, that fire together, wire together. So whatever you put your attention on, whatever the pathway that you can do through repetition and engagement, you will, removing the energy and the attention from what doesn't serve you and putting the attention on what you does is extremely powerful in consciousness and in your actual biology. That's how we prune unwanted neural pathways. We remove attention from them. So it's not conflict. It's just the removal of attention. So a lot of people have this idea that somehow they have to destroy, break, dissolve, crash things down, or get in agitation with those things. But if you put attention on it, in agitation, you're in engagement with something. And you see people get engaged in social media on all of these topics. I mean, like you said, you have to know what's available. You have to know what's going on because that's informing you about decisions. But then you have to decide where the quality of your attention is going to be placed, because whatever you withdraw attention from, the pathways will slowly dissolve. So in the neural network, what you put your attention on, the pathways you build will become stronger. But in the beginning, it's uncomfortable. Right? So this whole thing about attention is, like I said, the commodity of social media, the commodity of the powers that be want our attention on the things that they want our attention on. And it's smoke and mirrors to a certain degree. It's like keep them in the state of the reptilian brain, keep them in fight, flight, or freeze, so they can't make good decisions and they're easy to manipulate. We will decide what your attention goes on, and then from there you're easily manipulated to think and form your version of reality based on what somebody else's idea is. So I don't think people are aware of, like, we're powerfully creative beings. Like in every moment we're manifesting through word, thought, deed, through energies, through our intentions, through our belief systems, right? So people are not always, I don't think we covet and we appreciate the power of our attention the way we probably should. But those systems, and you're never going to beat an algorithm, by the way. Like someone says, well, I understand what's going on. I know how to work the algorithm. No, you won't be able to work the algorithm. The best way to work the algorithm is to remove attention. The best way to win the game is not to play. Right? Because if you play that game with the whole manipulation propaganda game, you won't win. Because psychologically, it's been developed for the last 30 years to be very efficiently manipulating the way we view reality. So, I mean, but we have that power of attention. Where we decide to put that attention, our neural network forms. It changes our reality internally. It creates a different predictive model, which creates a different reality of who you are. You choose the new version and identity of who you want to become, and it manifests the reality that is in alignment with your heart's desire, as opposed to what you do not want. I mean, it sounds so simple, right? But we're fighting against systems that are designed to keep us off balance.
Right. They are much bigger than we are.
They are much bigger than we are. It's true.
And we have
Which
to
is
be
why
in control
collaboration is powerful.
Right. Exactly. So I know that you spent a lot of time with enlightened beings and gurus and stuff. How do they see this? Is it something that they just flat don't get involved in, and they're in their cubicle of, their own consciousness, and their awareness is not anywhere else other than on themselves?
That's an interesting question. So much of their attention is on consciousness, right? Because what's the problem with most people is they're not really clear on what their intention is. And so if you have scattered attention, you get scattered results. And what decides what your intention is your relationship to your conditioned self-identity. So when you were talking about beings who have been enlightened, there's a quality of intense focus and balance within them. And they've achieved that through unraveling their conditioning. They've achieved that through sadhanic practices, which if you think about where they're putting their attention on their consciousness. And once that consciousness is awakened in a particular way, it has a very intense, powerful focus. So they, at some point, are very clear that they don't want to put their attention on what doesn't serve them, but their attention's on consciousness. And since consciousness is their attention, evolvement is their attention, connection to self, alignment is the attention, then it is far more easy not to get seduced by the relative reality, because that's not real anyways. Like, our relative world is in Hindu tradition is called Maya. You've probably heard these terms before: Maya, the simulated reality, the quantum field, right? Maya just means the grand illusion. It's the simulated reality is an experimental reality that's playing itself out. And the problem is people aren't treating their reality like their experiment, and they're not acting like their own. They're not an advocate in their own reality. They're allowing whatever is being influenced to decide what their reality is. So when somebody has a realized consciousness or a very awakened consciousness, they are very clear that the reality they're in is very mutable. It's relative, and it's something that they can adjust based on where they place their consciousness. And they've evolved their relationship to their consciousness in such a way that they're super clear in where they put their attentions. That means their creative power is amplified based on the alignment of self. So as a result of that, the choices they make are very aligned, and they're unlikely to get seduced by the grand illusion, the big circus that's playing out in the relative world. So and then it just becomes like you understand that this reality is not exactly what we think it is, and then the attachment to it becomes less. And when the attachment becomes less, consciousness is driving the boat, and you can channel that very aligned consciousness into things that are serving you or serving humanity or in alignment with expansion, as opposed to getting seduced by something that's a dream.
Right.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Well,
I understood
anyway.
it. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I got it.
Good.
Yeah, I understood the answer. It's because everybody wants not everybody, but people want other people to take a side. Okay.
Yes.
So what the gurus are doing is not taking a side.
They're not playing at all.
They're not playing at all.
But in that evolved, awakened state, there is no side.
Exactly.
Right. So they're not playing the game of the illusionary world. You have to be in it. Listen, we're in the relative reality. Consciousness is made up of two things. Consciousness is made up of nothingness, the absolute, emptiness, complete non-relative reality beyond and that's they consider that in yogic traditions. We call that Shiva, and Shiva is the deity of complete non-relative experiences. It's that part of you before you even manifest. It's the unmanifested reality. When that's awakened, you're going to view the relative side, which is the other side of consciousness, Shakti, the relative, the relational, the change side of consciousness. So when you've awakened the nothingness, when you've tapped into the absolute part, which kind of shows itself as the observer and peace in our consciousness, when you've tapped into that, when that's awakened inside of you, then the relative reality, you're looking through different eyes when you view this Maya. So you're not even interested in playing the same way everyone else is playing because you see through it. Right. So the only way to win is to not play the game the way they're telling us to play the game.
Exactly.
So that's all about attention. That's all about consciousness. That's all about self-regulation. It's also about unraveling all and getting really clear about what your conditioning is. We've talked many times about this. And for me, this is one of the things that people don't aware. Your self-identity, the belief systems you have about who you are that have been given to you. You've been conditioned by your reality, by your family of origin, by your culture, right? When you start to examine that, and start to have a relationship and get really clear about what the foundation is that's creating your next future. Your identity creates your belief systems. Your belief systems creates where you put your attention. Where you put your attention creates your reality. So understanding the context of what's in there, your conditioning, your patterns, your wounds, all those things is powerful, because when you could start unraveling that and playing with that and getting clear and having, and it's not that it goes away. A lot of people are like, well, I want to heal them. I want them to go away. I'm like, no. Your conditioning doesn't go away, but you get really intimate with it to the point so that when it does arise, you understand, oh, that's a conditioned thing that I learned and it doesn't necessarily serve me. And then I'm clear that I can make a different decision. And as you make what builds neural pathways? Repetition and emotional conviction. So the more repetition you make towards what you want based on understanding, wait a second, just because I've been conditioned this way, just because these are the beliefs I've been given, doesn't mean they're healthy, doesn't mean they serve me, they're just familiar, right?
Right.
So in this liminal state, we're unraveling all that, and people will have to look at themselves. You're going to have to see who you are, where you've come from. How does that influence the decisions you're making? And do those decisions that you're making, are they really in alignment with who you want to be or who you want to become? Or is it just another set of conditionings that have been given to you by your family, by your culture, by your society? So I'm a big proponent of understanding the foundation, the conditioning within you, because that gives you power to make very different decisions. And that's that clarity of consciousness that's there. Right? When we talk about awakening, for me, there's three kinds of awakening. And I mean, we can debate this, but this is from my perspective. One, there's an awakening in your psychological structure, understanding your conditioning. There's a kind of awakening there, because when you have maturity in your own ego structure and you understand how it works, then you're not easily manipulated, because you have a very deep relationship with your personality structure. The other kind of awakening is awakening into that absolute state where you touch and have access to that void, that emptiness, that beyond relativity, which is a kind of realization. And then the third kind of awakening is your energetic reality. When you put that trifecta together, your attention is not easily manipulated.
Right. Can we just, as you're talking, this is what keeps popping into my head.
Sure.
The healing loop, getting caught in the healing loop. And I think that's where a lot of people, that's what I've been observing. Well, I want to change my world. I want to change my thinking. So I'm going to heal. I'm going to heal. I'm going to heal. I'm going to heal. At what point do you decide, okay, I've healed this thing enough to change my thinking about it?
Yeah,
I think people stay busy in the healing loop.
I think a lot of people get seduced in the process, and they get wired into this endless loop of healing. Listen, if you live in relative reality, if you live in this, you are going to constantly be in a state of evolution. That's the nature of living here. Yeah. So that is naturally happening. But if you become obsessed with the healing loop and then you refuse to make actual empowered decisions, then that's just another distraction that you're creating for yourself because you don't want to move forward, right?
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's what I was getting at.
So think about it this way. The next step of, once you understand your conditioning, once you understand and you get to this place of being very available to yourself, then what's absolutely required is empowered action. You've got to do something. We live in a relative reality. It's a manifested relative reality, which means you need to do. It's action-based. So a lot of spiritual people end up getting caught in this loop where they're not doing anything. They may be going through healing processes. They go through ceremonies. They go to shamans. They go to healers. And listen, I'm an advocate for all of that. But at some point, you have to apply and put empowered action in what you actually learned and make the experiment. Because then you experiment with the new consciousness. And then the most powerful thing once that experiment happens is you have to observe the feedback and then refine. And that's where people in the manifestation world, that's where people get tricked up, because a lot of people get frozen. And why are they frozen? Because they're stuck in their reptilian brain, fight, flight, or freeze. So when they're stuck in that freezing place, they can stay looping in healing for the rest of their life and never actually put anything application in the world. So you have to test and measure, which is a business term, right? You have to test and measure into reality. And then you have to see with this consciousness, what do I just learn? With this empowered action, what gets manifested? And then you go, oh, okay, this is manifested. And then you refine. And then and then you rinse, wash, and repeat again and again and again. And then that's going through this, if you think about it, that's going through the spiral of growth. Every rung on the spiral deeper into your consciousness will reveal new stuff. The only way that happens if you are engaged in the process in action. Because in action, this is the relative structure, is action-based. So yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Long-winded.
We expect that, Markus. It's good. You have so much good stuff to say. That's what I meant, really. But you have so much good stuff to say. And I mean, I could just sit here and just listen to you all day, but then, you're kind of doing a monologue. So which is good. People are here to listen to you. But I feel like there might be some questions. I can only see my page in the comments. I can't see any other pages. So if there are questions coming in from other pages, I'm not seeing them. But Bobbi, did you have a question about something? Because I could see the wheels turning.
Well, I always have questions.
I know, and I love your questions because you have deep questions.
Well, but I also have learned that Markus is such a great wealth of knowledge and teacher that if I listen long enough, he'll give me the answer and I don't have to ask the questions. So.
Questions are helpful, let's be clear. So if we break this down, right? The thing is, know who you are, right? Focus on self, unravel, focus your attention on who you are, regulate your system, and then make actions based on what you learned, get the feedback, and then refine. I mean, I'm making it simple. If you break it down to that point, that's what we're doing all the time anyways. But the thing is, be consciously involved with it. Don't be unconsciously involved in it. Don't let the universe work on your behalf, because that's not going to be as fun. Let's be clear. Be proactive. And that's why Kristina's like, don't get into this healing loop. How many people have we seen are healing for the rest of their life, but they're not doing anything with that new consciousness?
And not necessarily even getting healed, because they're just opening the same wounds over and over and over again without actually allowing those wounds to heal and focusing elsewhere. I mean, we all have stuff that we can still work on. I mean, that's why we're still in bodies,
every
right?
day. Yeah.
Every day. We still all have stuff we can work on. We all still have healing to do. But if we're working on the same issue for years and never resolving anything, that's an escape. That's not active.
Right.
That's a spiritual escape. That's all it is.
So I think that people also need, like you said, the healing thing. They have to take action. And I just wanted to put this out there. Markus is available from the 6th to the 15th here in Wisconsin. And if you want to go to a great healing thing, informational, something to get your body charged up, your head charged up, your mind going in the direction of trying to make more, taking that action to yourself. Markus is available. He's online, markuskasunich.com. He's here in Wisconsin if you want to get a hold of him. His programs, his lectures, his workshops, and even his body sessions are incredibly healing. They're really informative, and you will walk away with a new view on your own life. So Markus, why don't you tell us where you are and what you're doing for the next couple of minutes?
I'm doing private sessions here in the Midwest. I think we have at least one more event. There's a powerful acupuncture and energy event on Sunday. But other than that, I think I just had a slew of events this weekend, but it's really just private sessions in that one event that's left. And of course, there's stuff online. I have my monthly webcast, and I have my Relationship Academy, which is where all the content goes from all the stuff that I do all over. And there's always a ton of opportunities there. And I just introduced a new, what I call the Healing Satsang, which is an online thing where we do remote healing in group situation. There'll be meditation and remote healing. So that's going to be something I'm offering and coming up soon. But again, I just want to implore everybody that just take the action, make the risk, take the choice, try something different. If you keep doing the same thing again and again and again, that's the definition of insanity, especially if you're expecting a different result. So if you want to get something different, apply something different, and then be okay with the fact that it's an experiment and that you may not go exactly how you want, and then you refine it. Because if you don't, like Kristina said, if you don't do that, then a perpetual loop of healing with not applying that in the world is not going to move you very quickly in your own evolution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So don't you have a streaming meditation coming up?
Oh yeah, there is a meditation there's a streaming meditation on Thursday.
Okay. Well,
yeah, I'll be it'll be a live stream for that meditation process.
Markus's meditations are incredible, and they will put you in a new zone. And when you get out of the zone, when you wake up or come to your consciousness, you will imbibe something different. You will know something else happened. You have accessed places in yourself that you haven't accessed in a while. They are really incredible. I'm going, whether it be online or in person, but I'm going. I love your meditation. So that being said, thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah, thank you.
We love having you. You are just an incredible source.
Well, I love coming. You guys are amazing. You're always so kind and welcoming. And, any opportunity for us to talk about consciousness and help open up the possibility for people to have a different reality that's based on what they want I'm all about that. So I love the fact that you have a platform where you're having these open conversations to assist people to think differently, to shift the thinking about things.
Right.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm grateful for all of that. What have I got? I don't know. I'm going to be in Escanaba on the 28th. And on the 24th, I'm teaching a trance meditation, out of your body class. My brain is a little scrambled right now. But I'm teaching that online on the 24th, and I don't have that up yet. But I've got some stuff coming up in April. And really the big fun thing that I'm looking forward to at this point is that I am going to be one of the leaders of a Bigfoot hike on May 8th here in Wisconsin. So I'm excited about that. And as part of the CapCon event, paranormal event in Fond du Lac, which is May 9th.
Oh, so, that sounds fun.
Yeah. As a Canadian, we're big on Sasquatch.
Yes. I've got Sasquatch stickers all over my car. So
I see one behind you.
Yes, my blanket. It's covering up my idea board because I forgot to move my idea board that I'm not ready to make public yet. So
okay.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, what do you got going on, Bobbi?
People can reach me on Facebook or Breakfast with Bobbi if they need to get a hold of me for a session in shamanic practitioner healing and some breath work. I don't know if Markus is aware of this. I just took a couple of certification classes for breathwork, and I am certainly not on your level on the breathwork thing, but it's a start, and it's really incredible to incorporate that with a healing session.
Absolutely. It's powerful.
It's very powerful. It is the most powerful. When you regulate your nervous system, things change.
Yes.
And you're in control then.
Yeah.
So that being said, thank you all for coming today. We are over our time by just a few minutes, and we could go on all day, but hopefully we'll have Markus back and he can talk about something new and exciting. So again, thanks a bunch, you guys, for coming, and we love having you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very
Take
much,
care.
guys.
Yep.
Have a great week.
Goodbye.